The Bible Treasury. A monthly magazine of papers on scriptural subjects. Article 30, Volume 3, 2nd edition, January 1861. Correspondence. Isaiah 53 verse 11, Daniel 12 verse 3. First edition, January, 1861 207. To the editor of the Bible Treasury. The writer on Daniel in the Bible Treasury of this month objects, and I think correctly, to the generally received idea that, in Isaiah 53 verse 11, by his knowledge means, by the knowledge of him. On consulting the Englishman's Hebrew concordance, I find the precise form of the Hebrew word occurs only in one other place, by his knowledge the depths, etc. Proverbs 3 verse 20, clearly by God's knowledge. By his knowledge, Isaiah 53 verse 11, I take to be Christ's knowledge of God. Comp. Matthew 11 verse 27, John 1 verse 18, John 3 verses 13 to 19, John 17 verses 3 to 26, 1 John 5 verse 20, etc. The Son is the exponent of the Father. All was an enigma, so to speak, until he came, to utter things kept secret from the foundation of the world. Now that God desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Hosea 6 verse 6, He that teacheth man knowledge. Psalm 94 verse 10, I cannot concur with the writer in altering shall justify for instructing in righteousness. The word translated justify occurs in that precise form of the verb only in Exodus 23 verse 7, I will not justify the wicked, that is, God will not make or pronounce a wicked man a just man. Again, God forbid that I should justify you. Job 27 verse 5, that is, acknowledge you to be just in what you have spoken. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Isaiah 53 verse 11. God is now known as the God that justifieth the ungodly. He is the just God and the Saviour, just and the justifier of him that believeth on Jesus, for he gives the ungodly, the poor sinner, a righteousness, and in doing so demonstrates his own righteousness. Romans 3 verses 21 to 26. Thus grace reigns through righteousness. Romans 5 verse 21. December. R.S. If R.S. had more fully weighed the context of the scriptures in question, he would have found the key with far more certainty than the mere occurrence of the word, indicated by a concordance, can afford. Everyone who consults a Hebrew lexicon may see that the usual, regular meaning of tzodak is justify. But this sense, even where it, or something like it, might be given in English, is susceptible of very considerable modification according to the proposition in which it occurs. Hence it is even used for cleansing the sanctuary in Daniel 8 verse 14. And I find that Gesnius, in voce, takes the word substantially as I do, in the two passages we are discussing. Justum s. Probum, pom redit italicum, exemplo et doctrina. Indeed, R.S.'s admission, that by his knowledge means Christ's own knowledge of God, seems to me decisive of the question. He might teach many thereby, but how could knowledge justify? This would be strange doctrine. To instruct in righteousness, restores the balance. Still plainer is Daniel 12. We can understand Christ justifying by his blood, by his obedience, though not by his knowledge, but how human teachers could justify anyone, is to me an enigma. Here the authorized version is to my mind much nearer the truth, for the justify is dropped for turn to righteousness. But I have already given reason enough in the remarks for preferring instruct in righteousness. For the object here is the many, not many, and this phrase is a standing one in our prophet for the apostate mass in Israel, who may be instructed in, but assuredly are not turned to, righteousness. This, the necessary meaning in Daniel 12, makes an excellent and consistent sense in Isaiah 53.